Well, she gets started.
Bill seats to counts 2 and 3.
They can hear me.
Good morning. I'm Judge Tammy Long Hayward. This is the State Court of Clayton County. This is courtroom 304. This is the Tuesday jail arraignment calendar and probation revocation calendar. We also have a non-jail calendar. The first person on the jail arraignment calendar is Josiah Malik Dixon. Wait, no, I think this is the non-jail calendar. Josiah Malik Dixon.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Dixon is here. Mr. Dixon, it says that you're represented by Jason Monroe.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you talked to your attorney? Are they planning to be here this morning?
He's here.
He's
I was
here
just on the
already.
phone with him. He should be.
I'm sorry.
He's here already,
Okay.
speaking with someone.
Are you in his office?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I was just on with him, Your Honor, on the phone, so I think he has to log back in.
Oh, okay.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, so Mr. Dixon is present. Mr. Dixon has 2 cases. I'm sorry, 3 cases. Mr. Dixon, you've been busy. Need you to slow down.
It was a
Don't explain. James Horace Harvey Jr.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning, Mr. Abikwe.
Morning, backward. James, come this way, please. Put your head here and look at the court. Look up your hat. Look up your hat. Good morning.
Good
Bring your head
morning,
down.
sir. All right, Mr. Harvey. So, Mr. Abikwe, have you had a chance to speak with the state?
Judge, this is on, for some good reason, he never received a notice, and that's a bench warrant. So we put
Okay.
this on. So number 1, waive arraignment, and also have ask the court to recall the warrant, Your Honor, if the court will indulge me.
All right, so Mr. Abikwe, has your client updated his information with the court?
Yes, Your Honor. He never moved, Judge. For some good reason, they did not send anything. He's still in the same address from the day, and he's been there for so many years.
Okay, all right. So Ms. Janvier, if we could get a bench warrant set aside. and we'll go ahead and sign that today. And Mr. Ibikwe, you want to waive arraignment for Mr. Harvey and
Yes, Your Honor.
and you're going to speak with the state sometime in the near future?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, because this is y'all may be able to work this out.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Harvey, you understand what you've been charged with, sir, and while you are innocent until proven guilty, the holidays are approaching and alcohol will be everywhere. So what I want you to remember is that you do not want to have the same set of charges occur again. And I make this announcement because around this time, about 2 or 3 years ago, I had a gentleman who was charged with DUI, and then he went out and got another DUI and killed somebody. So I just want to make sure that you're using good judgment during this holiday season, sir. Okay.
Absolutely. Yes,
All
ma'am.
right. Thank you. Okay, you and your attorney are excused at this time. And Mr. Ibikwe, our solicitor, Ms. John VA, just make sure you have an opportunity to speak with her, Ms. Sawana John VA.
I will, Your Honor. Thank you, Judge.
All right, thank you, sir. Max Raphael James Jackson. Jackson.
Yes, I'm here. Good morning.
All right, good
Sorry, it
morning,
was on
Mr.
mute.
Jackson. So, Mr. Jackson, you are charged with DUI, DUI less safe, open container, highway violation, wrong side of the road, and driving with an expired, I think it's registration. Sir, do you wish to have an attorney represent you? At least
No.
2 of these charges can further suspend your license and possibly result in jail time.
No, I can't afford an attorney.
I can appoint one to you, even if you can't afford one. We can appoint one for no to minimal charge.
No.
Okay. So do you wish to speak with the solicitor and see what they're requiring or wanting to request of the court for a sentence in this case?
I know the last time I appeared in court, I spoke to the judge and he said if I was going to plead guilty, I would have got 12 months probation. And I pleaded not guilty due to some of the documentation was not present during the time of me being pulled over. So I did email, I believe I emailed Valencia, someone there at the courthouse, documentation of my registration and my driver's license because my.
Okay, but the issue is that the DUIs don't depend on documentation. And those are the ones that are going to be the more serious charge.
Correct.
So you sure you don't want an attorney?
No.
Okay. All right. Are you over the age of 21?
Yes.
All right. So I will let you speak with Ms. John VA. And at the appropriate time, I'll put y'all in a breakout room and she can give you what the recommendation is. And so just so you know that the recommendation for DUI is generally statutory. So it's not a whole lot of wiggle room in what can or can't be done because it's set in the law. Okay.
Correct.
All right. Christopher Marquise Johnson. Christopher Marquise Johnson.
Good morning, Your Honor. Mr. Johnson is on the Zoom call. And
I'll see him.
Mr. Johnson, can you put on your video?
I don't know how to do it.
All right, Mr. Kamani, do you have an announcement on behalf of Mr. Johnson?
Yes, Your
I'm
Honor.
here.
I got
He's
you,
going
Mr.
to-
Johnson.
He's going to plead NOLO to counts 1 and 2.
Okay. All right, and so that's the last on the calendar. Is Mr. Monroe back? Mr. Jason Monroe, your client, Mr. Dixon, has 3 cases.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Do you have announcements on those cases?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. I've spoken with the solicitor and we're going to enter a plea. We've got a pleas worked out to resolve all three of those cases. I'm waiting on them to email me the plea paperwork. And I
You're breaking up a little bit, sir. After,
heard my email address in the chat.
okay, so you sent her your email address and you're waiting for plea paperwork. Okay, I'm gonna,
I'm waiting on the solicitor to send to email me the paperwork.
okay. Well, before I go to
Yes,
the
ma'am.
next calendar, Mr. Jackson, may I see you, please? Christopher Jackson, I'm sorry, Johnson, Mr. Johnson, Christopher Johnson. All right. Not you, Mr. Jackson, I'm sorry.
Christopher Johnson, ma'am?
Christopher Johnson.
Okay.
Where'd he go? He disappeared, Mr. Kamani.
Your Honor, I'll get in touch with him.
Okay, so I'm gonna go on to the jail calendar. Carl Anthony Brown. This is a petition.
Yes, Your Honor. I'm representing Mr. Brown. I spoke to him last night. I need to speak with him again just to clarify something.
Okay. Courtney Hargraves.
Your Honor, this is gonna be NOLO to counts 1 and 2.
Factual basis is on pleading, take recommendation is $50 fine. You wish to accept that recommendation, correct?
Martinez, Giovanni Hernandez Martinez.
Your Honor, that's gonna be NOLO to count 1.
How much time do you get that? It's probably almost close to the 80 months old. For surcharge, did that in this message being paid today?
Gabriel Clay Johnson.
I'll need to speak with Mr. Johnson, Your Honor.
Antoine Jordan is a petition.
Your Honor, I'll need to speak with Mr. Jordan as well.
Robert Leonard is a petition.
We'll work to the traffic court with us. They're gonna give you a copy of your paper.
Your Honor, that's going to be a stipulated agree.
Copy.
There are 4 cases.
Okay. And we're stip and agree to all 4?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, so at this time, I'm gonna set up breakout room for Miss Han and the jail, and Mr. Kamani and Mr. Monroe. I'll try and take your pleas. And then Mr. Kamani, if you need to go into the breakout room, then I'll do that too. One moment.
Your Honor, we haven't finished the calendar.
You would finish the calendar, Judge?
Sorry, I don't know why I keep not seeing this next page.
It's several
Oh,
other pages.
I see it now. Thank you. 1 second. Jose Guadalupe Martinez.
Your
Good
Honor,
morning,
is-
Judge. That defendant bonded out on December 10th.
All right, thank you. Martavius Dion McCarter, that's a petition.
Your Honor, I need to speak to him.
Jose Santos Mendoza Ceja.
So, Your Honor, on the first case, I'll need to speak with him again, but with the interpreter. And then for the second case, it's gonna be NOLO. And then for the third case, it's gonna be NOLO to count 1 and guilty to count 2.
Okay. You got here probably like.
Okay,
Based on that, isn't that good?
all right, and Corey Morgan. Have we done it? Have we found anything for Mr. Morgan?
Yes, Your Honor, I actually have the Clayton Center referral in front of me form. I spoke with Mr. Morgan yesterday to try to get as much information as possible, and I'm still filling it out, but I can have it ready today.
Okay. All right. So Mr. Morgan can go back. He'll be getting a referral to the Clayton Center. And then let's try and work out his plea, even if we have to do it as a plea in absentia.
Okay.
All right. Shantae Lamar Price,
Your Honor, I need to
not
speak.
plea, but abeyance. And so he can go to the center. I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Kamani.
Your Honor, I need to speak to Ms. Chang for a minute to discuss this case.
Is Ms. Chang on? If oh yes, she is. Okay.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning, Ms. Chang. All right, and Marcus Quantez Scott.
Your Honor, I attempted a couple of jail visits with him. He did not show up. I need to speak to him.
Okay, breakout. Shaquoy Anthony Smalls.
Judge, that defendant bonded out on December 10th.
All right, Dontarius Lamar Williams.
And Judge, that defendant bonded out on December 9th.
All right. Okay, so that I believe is the end of the calendar. Okay, I'll set up the breakout rooms.
Your Honor, Christopher Johnson is back. Just wanted to let you know.
Who?
Christopher
Oh,
Johnson.
Mr. Johnson. Okay. All right. So I'm going to put Ms. Hahn and the jail in breakout room number 1.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. And Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson, may I see you, please?
Yes, give me 1 second.
All right. So you got to be still, Mr. Johnson, or you're going to make me dizzy. Okay. So Mr. Johnson, raise your right hand for me.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay. Raise your right hand for me.
Pardon me?
Raise your right hand for me. Okay. Okay, now I can't see you.
Can't hear anything.
Okay. Mr. Johnson, can you sit somewhere? Where are you going? Can you hear me?
I can't hear anything.
Okay. There should
I'm
be
gonna exit out and then I'm gonna come back in.
okay. All right. Where's Mr. Morgan? Okay, Mr. Morgan's gone again. All right, Miss John V, I'm going to put you in a breakout room with Mr. What's the gentleman? Mr. Jackson.
Yes, I'm here.
I'm going to put you in a breakout room with the solicitor. You decided to represent yourself. So I'm going to put you in a breakout room number 2 with Miss John VA, so she can tell you what the recommendation is on your charges. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. Mr. Kamani, did you, as soon as he's back and Miss John VA's back, we'll try and get that done.
Your Honor.
Yes, Mr. Kamani?
In the meantime, can I speak to Ms. Chang?
Sure. Breakout room with Ms. Chang. I'll put you in breakout room number 4.
This meeting is being recorded.
right, Your Honor, we have an announcement for Mr. Jackson.
Yes, Ms. Janvier?
We've reached a plea agreement, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Mr. Jackson, raise your right hand for me. Do you solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so you're before the court on State of Georgia versus Max Raphael James Jackson, 2021 CR 04503. You have waived the right to have an attorney present and you wish to represent yourself. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and the court did explain to you that at least two of these offenses could result in a suspension of your license or jail time?
Yes.
All right, so sir, you're before the court for count 1, driving under the influence, count 2, DUI less safe, count 3, open container, count 4, highway violation, count 5, wrong side of the road, and count 6, driving with an expired registration. How do you plead to the offenses before the court? Ms. Janvier, do you have what you all agreed to?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
So for count 1, count 1 guilty for count 1. For count 2, we would null pros. Count 3 would be nolo. Count 4, that would be nolo. Count 5 would be guilty, and count 6, the state is recommending null pros.
All right. All right, so sir, by entering a plea of guilty to count 1, nolo to counts 3 and 4, and guilty to count 5, you give up the right to have a trial by jury or judge. You give up the right to have the state prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You give up the right to have the presumption of innocence in your favor. You give up the right to confront witnesses, subpoena witnesses, present testimony and evidence on your behalf, to not incriminate yourself or present any testimony or evidence against yourself. And sir, if you're not a United States citizen, a plea of guilty or no contest could negatively impact your immigration status. Do you understand all of these things, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, factual basis and recommendation, please.
Yes, Your Honor. On Saturday, September the 12th, 2020, an officer was conducting a traffic stop on Terra Boulevard and Highway 138 in the city limits of Jonesboro. The incident did occur in Clayton County. At that time, it was the traffic stop was in reference to a vehicle being operated on the wrong side of the roadway and crossing over the median. That vehicle bear the tag number EGD 2519. The officer did run a check and the GCIC determined it was not a stolen vehicle. At that time, the officer then made contact with the driver of that vehicle and determined that it was Mr. Jackson. As Mr. Jackson handed the officer a driver's license, which was expired. At that time, the officer advised of the observation of Mr. Jackson operating the vehicle on the road side of the road, as well as crossing over the median. At that point, the officer smelled a strong odor of alcohol and asked Mr. Jackson to submit to a field sobriety test. He agreed to the exercises. During the walk-in test turn, Mr. Jackson missed the heel-toe steps, stepped off the line several times during the first 9 steps, and performed an improper turn. During the one-leg stand test, the officer determined that Mr. Jackson was unable to maintain his balance and counted out of sequence as it was demonstrated to him. Mr. Jackson was also administered a portable handheld alcohol sensor test, and it came with a positive result. And at that time, Mr. Jackson was read the implied consent. He agreed to the blood alcohol draw, and at that, after taking Mr. Jackson into custody, he was given His blood was drawn by the jail nurse at that time, Your Honor. The state is recommending for count 1, 12 months to serve, 2 days credit for the time served. The balance will be probated. No drugs or alcohol, random screening and testing, a drug alcohol evaluation and follow-up treatment, risk reduction program, 40 hours of community service, and a $500 fine. Count 2 is no price. Count 3 is a $200 fine, Your Honor. Count 4 is 12 months probation to run concurrent with count 1 and a $100 fine. Count 5 is also a 12-month probation to run concurrent with counts 4 and 1 and a $100 fine. And the state is no pricing count 6.
All right. So, Mr. Jackson, I'm going to accept your plea of guilty to count 1. For that, it's a 12-month sentence, 2 days in jail, credit for time served, balance will be probated for you to take a substance abuse evaluation and any treatment that might be ordered. You're also to take a risk reduction course. You're not to have any alcohol or illicit drugs during the course of your probation. That's for the entire 12 months. And you're subject to random screens for alcohol and illicit drugs. You're also going to do 40 hours of community service and pay a fine in the amount of $500, which with the surcharges is going to be $737.50. Count 2 will be no price. Count 3 is going to be a fine in the amount of $200, which will run concurrent with count 1. That $200 fine is going to be $298 with the surcharges. Count 4 is 12 months probation, a fine in the amount of $100. That's going to be $151 with the surcharges. Count 5 is a guilty plea. That'll be 12 months probation to run concurrent with count 1. And that's a $100 fine. That'll be $150 with the surcharge, $150 with the surcharges. That's correct. And sir, count 6 will be no price. If you don't feel like you can do all of this within the 12 months, then I could do 24 months of probation and it would just terminate once you completed all the fines and fees and conditions.
I'll just go ahead with the 12 months.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to put you in a breakout room with Mrs. Thomas. Mrs. Thomas. Oh, wait, no. Mrs. Menard. Ms. Menard, are you doing intake today?
They say it was Devin Carmichael.
I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm literally trying to charge my phone in the sport. It's on like 16%.
All right. This is
It's not
important though,
charging.
Mr. Jackson. So try and put it on the charger. So you're going to meet with Mr. Carmichael. Mr. Carmichael, I'm going to put you in breakout room number 6. I'm going to put Mr. Jackson in breakout room number 6. And once you finish speaking with him, then you'll be free to go. But just make sure that you understand the quickest way to get rearrested is to not go to your probation reports, okay? Mr. Jackson?
I'll remind him, Your Honor, when I speak with him.
I'm sorry?
I said I'll remind him when I speak with him.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Carmichael.
Hello?
Mr. Jackson, you're...
Hello?
Yeah, I sent you... Mr. Jackson, can you hear me?
Yes,
I
the
sent
phone was
you
breaking.
an invitation to breakout room number 6. Can you see it? If you can't, touch your screen.
Okay, it says I see a break room.
Okay, go on to that breakout room.
Okay.
Also, Your Honor, before Mr. Jackson I apologize. He had a bench warrant and the state is preparing the bench warrant set aside.
Okay, we're going to set aside the bench warrant too, Mr. Jackson, but you go ahead into the break room, all right?
Break room 6?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Carmichael, you can go on into the breakout room.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, so I never saw Mr. Monroe again. Mr. Dixon, were you able to reach your attorney? He had really bad, you got to unmute for me.
Yes, I just had spoke with him. He said he waiting on them to send over the paperwork and then he's gonna email it over to me.
Okay. he had really bad
connection.
so hopefully he'll have better when he gets back. All right, so Miss Tolles is here, and I know that we have Mr. Mendoza Seja. So I'm gonna put Miss Tolles in the breakout room also with Miss Hahn and Mr. Kamani. And Miss Hahn, do you have any announcements so far?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Mr. Brown is going to stipulate and agree to the technical
report.
And I have Mr. Johnson.
Okay.
That's
Miss Hahn, is there somebody in the room with you?
Yes.
Is there any way that they could speak softer?
She just turned down her volume.
770-920-7413.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
I'm sorry, Judge.
Okay. Your Honor, Mr. Johnson is, that's going to be a no-low.
Okay.
Mr. Jordan is going to stipulate and agree to the technicals.
Okay.
And then I think last is just Mr. Mendoza Seja for that one.
Okay. So I'm going to put Ms. Tolles in the breakout room with you for Mr. Mendoza Seja, so we can help him. And then I'm going to put Mr. Kamani in there also for, I believe he had one person he needed to speak with. Mr. Kamani, did you have an announcement before you go into the breakout room? Okay, you're muted.
I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Christopher Johnson is back if you wanted to do his plea.
Okay. Mr. Johnson, may I see you? Let's see. Okay, Ms. Hahn, you're in the breakout room and with the jail. I'm gonna go ahead and put Ms. Tolles in there. But you can go in. Mr. Johnson, all right, raise your right hand for me, sir. You solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true?
Yes.
All right. So, sir, you're before the court on State of Georgia versus Christopher Marquise Johnson, 2020 CR 02532 for driving on a suspended or revoked license and driving in a school zone 21 to 25 miles per hour over the limit. Mr. Kamani, you have indicated that Mr. Johnson is entering a plea of NOLO to counts 1 and 2. By entering a plea of NOLO, you give up the right to have a trial by jury or judge. You give up the right to have the state prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You give up the right to have the presumption of innocence in your favor. You give up the right to confront witnesses, subpoena witnesses, present testimony and evidence on your behalf, to not incriminate yourself or present any testimony or evidence against yourself. And if you're not a United States citizen, a plea of guilty or no contest could negatively impact your immigration status. Do you understand all of these things, Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
All right. Factual basis and recommendation, please, Ms. Janvier.
Yes, Your Honor. On February 10th, 2019, while an officer was on patrol of West Fayetteville Road and East Pleasant Hill Road, where the incident occurred in Clayton County, the officer observed a vehicle to be approaching at the speed of about 50 miles per hour. The officer then confirmed the visual estimation with the radar. At that point, it was determined that the vehicle being operated by Mr. Johnson was traveling at 48 miles per hour in a 25 mile per hour school zone. The officer then made contact with Mr. Johnson. At that time, he checked Mr. Johnson for his name and date of birth, and GCIC determined that the driver's license was suspended. At that time, he was taken into custody. The state is recommending for the driving with suspended license 12 months to serve 2 days, credit for time served, $500, the balance to be suspended, and a $500 fine. For the speeding, it would be a $150 fine, Your Honor.
All right. How, Mr. Kamani, how much time would your client need to pay the fines and fees?
60 days, Your Honor.
All right, so Mr. Johnson, I'm going to accept your pleas of nolo. I'll sentence you on count 1 to 12 months to serve 2 days credit for time served. Balance suspended as long as you pay the fine of $500, $737.50 within 60 days. Count 2, it's a nolo plea. I'll accept that, and you'll pay a fine in the amount of $150. With the surcharges, it's going to be closer to 200, maybe $210, $215. Once you pay that within the 60 days, your balance will be suspended. All right. So, sir, Mr. Kamani, do you have his email address to give to Ms. Castaneda?
Yes, Your Honor, I have it.
All right.
And Your Honor, he has a bench warrant, if that could be set aside or recalled.
All right, Ms. John VA, you're going to send that over, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right, so Mr. Johnson, the bench warrant will be set aside. You will be able to pay your fines and fees by coming into the building at 9151 Terra Boulevard on the 2nd floor, or you can pay online or by phone. You're going to receive your sentencing information by email. Please make sure you check your email later today or tomorrow. And once you check the email, you should have instructions about how to pay online or by phone if you choose to pay that way, okay?
Okay.
All right, and Mr. Johnson, I'm gonna tell you, the quickest way to get your license suspended is if you get a citation for something and you don't calendar that citation in your phone and make sure that you show up on that date, a failure to appear will suspend your license. And so you don't want to do that. If you're ever given a citation while you are still on the side of the road, take a picture of the citation and then calendar it in your phone with a reminder that is at least 7 to 10 days before, so you can handle that, okay?
Okay.
All right, because it's real expensive if you don't. You got me?
I understand.
All right, take care, sir, and you'll get that email.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Mr. Monroe, you're back. Are you ready to go forward, sir?
Yes, ma'am. I'm here. We haven't signed the plea paperwork. If there is any that we need to sign.
That's okay. Because of Zoom, we haven't been doing the paperwork if you're not in court.
Oh, okay. I apologize. I was waiting on an email. We're ready.
That's okay. All right. So, Mr. Dixon, raise your right hand for me.
Your Honor, I'm sorry
Yes,
to.
sir.
Can you put me in the breakout room of the jail?
Sure, no problem, Mr. Kamani. So, Mr. Dixon, you're before the court on 2020CR09412. Do you solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so sir, you're before the court on 1 count of marijuana, 1 ounce or less on case ending in 09412 and 1 count of defective equipment. You're also before the court on case 2021CR04862 for count 1, driving on a suspended or revoked license, count 2, no license, count 3, no tag or expired or valid tag, and count 4, suspended registration. You're also before the court on case 2021CR04868 for no insurance. You're represented on all 3 of these cases by Attorney Jason Monroe, who's here before the court. Mr. Monroe, how does your client plead to the first case ending in 09412?
Your Honor, it's my understanding the state's going to null process that case on a plea to the other charges.
All right. So the case ending in the case 202CR09412 will be no pros per the plea on the remaining cases. The case ending the case 2021CR04862. It's my understanding that your client intends to enter a plea. I'm sorry, I must have missed that when you said it before. So go ahead and tell me what that is on driving on a suspended license, no license, tag, no tag or expired tag, and suspended registration.
Your Honor, he's going to plead nolo to counts 1 and count 3, and the other 2 will be null processed.
All right.
So that'd be the suspended license and the tag.
Okay, and on the case 2021 CR 04868 for no insurance.
He's going to plead no low to that as well.
All right, sir. By entering these pleas before the court, you give up the right to have a trial by jury or judge. You give up the right to have the state prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You give up the right to have the presumption of innocence in your favor. You give up the right to confront witnesses, subpoena witnesses, present testimony and evidence on your behalf, to not incriminate yourself or present any testimony or evidence against yourself. And if you're not a United States citizen, a plea of guilty or no contest could negatively impact your immigration status. Do you understand all of these things, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. A factual basis and recommendation, Ms. John VA, for the case ending 04862 first.
Okay. On April 27, 2021, on Highway 85 and Camp Street, where the incident occurred in Clayton County, the officer initiated a traffic stop as he observed a red and white dirt bike being operated in the lanes. Once the officer made contact with the operator of the dirt bike, which was determined to be Mr. Dixon, he identified himself as Mr. Dixon, and once the officer confirmed through GCIC and NCIC, the driver's license was suspended as of February 11th, 2021. Additionally, the officer, that's it. At that point, the officer determined that he was driving with a suspended license with an unregistered vehicle on the roadway. The state is recommending, Your Honor, for count one, a $500 fine, count two will be no pros, count three, a $100 fine, and count four would be no pros, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, and then the remaining case.
Yes, Your Honor. On February 19th of 2021, while the officer was on patrol of Norman Drive and Garden Walk Boulevard, where the incident occurred in Clayton County, the officer observed a red sedan being operated by Mr. Dixon, changing lanes several times as the officer was behind the vehicle. The officer at that point then checked for the tag, and the GCIC returned that the vehicle registration was suspended, Your Honor. The officer made contact with the vehicle and made contact with Mr. Dixon at that time. The state is recommending a $200 fine for the no insurance.
Anything on behalf of your client, Mr. Monroe?
Your Honor, I believe that he has paid the fines. He said he paid a cash bond or paid the clerk's office for the fines on this. I told him that I'm not sure whether that's enough, and that includes the court costs on it. So
I have that he paid two different bonding companies.
To pay his fines, and if there's any deficit.
So, Mr. Monroe, I can't really hear you.
I'm not sure. I believe that he said he paid cash amount, but we'd ask the court to allow him 60 days to get it all paid up with the court.
So, Mr. Monroe, what I have is that he paid bonding companies. He paid Free at Last on the first one. At Lab
I
8,
apologize.
Lab...
I have a bad connection. We would ask the court to allow him 60 days to get it all paid. I'm really not sure, Your Honor, but I've spoken with him and I told him that the clerk will give him credit for any money that he is to have it all paid.
Okay, he paid bonding companies. He didn't pay the court. He didn't post a cash bond.
I understand. We're asking that he be given 60 days to pay the clerk.
All right, so Mr. Dixon, I'm going to accept your plea of NOLO and on the case ending in 04862. That'll be a fine in the amount of $500. It'll be $737.50 with the surcharges. Count 2 will be no pros. Count 3 is $100 fine. It'll be $151.50 with the surcharges. Count 4 will be no pros. And on the case ending in 04862, that's a $200 fine. It'll be $298 with the surcharges. Now, Mr. Dixon, how old are you?
21.
Okay, so Mr. Dixon, it's a good thing you waited until you were 21 to take care of these cases, because had you not, your license would have been suspended. Sir, you have got to take driving seriously. Anytime you're operating a vehicle on the road, I don't care if it's your vehicle, if it belongs to someone else, it has to be road ready. It has to have insurance. It has to have proper registration. It has to be ready, and the person driving it has to be ready with a license that is valid at the time that you're operating the vehicle. All you do is rack up charges when you take chances like that, when it's really much cheaper to just be in compliance. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so at 21, we make poor choices, but you're over 21 now. And so it's time to be an adult, to grow up and start making proper choices. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because it's a lot cheaper, trust me, to live and do the right thing instead of taking chances on doing the wrong thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because you see these fines and fees, it's a lot cheaper to just go ahead and make sure you have proper registration, make sure you have insurance, make sure that your license is in good stead. All of those things are cheaper than what you're gonna pay. And the fact that you had to pay Mr. Monroe. And you got 3 different charges that you coming before this judge. Okay, let's not do this again, all right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so I'm going to give you 60 days in which to pay. And what I'll do, are you working?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so just because I know it's gonna be, it's a lot to come up with almost, $1,500 at this point. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you 60 days on the first case, and then I'll give you 60 days consecutive on the second case, okay? Miss Brenda, you got that? And that way you'll have a total of 120 days to pay, but you wanna do it earlier than that, and you don't wanna wait just because I'm giving you extra time. But I do realize this is a lot of money for a 21-year-old to have to pay. You get me?
And what you say the total cost is?
It's gonna be, so with the surcharges, the first case is gonna be it's gonna be $990 or thereabouts. And then the second case is gonna be $298.
All right.
So you'll have 60 days in which to pay the $990, and then you'll have 60 days after that to pay the $298, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so what I'm gonna ask you to do now is, do you know how to use the chat function?
Like mute.
No, on your Zoom, there's something called the chat function where we can kind of talk to each other in writing. I'm gonna send you a test, okay? And when you see that, you let me know, because I need you to send your email address.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, did you see something pop up?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Ms. Castaneda, is he gonna send this information to you, or is somebody else taking over your role already?
If you could chat it over to Miss Amanda Wright.
Okay, so Ms. Wright, I didn't mean to ignore you, ma'am. I'm just trying to get clear on who's doing what. Okay, so Mr. Dixon, what I'm going to ask you to do is, when you click on the chat function, you'll see a name in blue. It's probably my name. Click on that name in blue, and a pull down menu will come down, and you'll see Miss Amanda Wright. See her?
Yes, ma'am.
Click on her name, and then in the box, put your email address, and make sure you check it twice to make sure that we got the right information.
And do I hit direct message?
Yes, you hit, no, not direct, but just hit enter. It should send it if you hit enter.
I see.
All right. All right, Ms. Wright, let me know when you have that. So Mr. Dixon, in a day or so, you're gonna check, if not this afternoon, then check tomorrow. You'll get your sentence sheet, which will have all of this information in it for you, okay? You'll be able to pay by coming into the building at 9151 Terra Boulevard on the second floor, or you can pay online or by phone, but please don't miss those deadlines because I issued a lot of arrest warrants yesterday for people who failed to take the time given to them to completely pay their fines and fees, okay?
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate it.
All right, and Mr. Dixon, you 21 now, you grown, okay? So let's act like it.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Mr. Monroe, anything else, sir?
No, Your Honor, that's all I have.
All right, have a great holiday, sir.
Thank you,
Judge, I
Judge. You
got
too.
the email address.
All right, thank you, Ms. Wright.
Your Honor, I'm good to lead the Zoom.
Yes, you are, Mr. Dixon.
All right, y'all have a good day.
You too, and get that license straight.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. All right. So Mr. Kamani and Ms. Han are in the breakout room. As soon as they come out, we'll begin doing the pleas and petitions.
This meeting is being recorded.
Your Honor, we have announcements.
All right, 1 second.
So that, but I'm saying as far as the amount of time, because it's, so as I keep saying, they are.
All right, what are your announcements?
Your Honor, cases, Leonard, 4 cases, stipulate and agree. McCarter, stipulate and agree to the technicals.
Okay,
Price, stipulate and agree.
okay,
Scott has 2 cases. On the first case, Nolo to criminal trespass. On the second case, Nolo to count 1 and count 2 will be no cost.
all right.
And then, Your Honor, for Mendoza Ceja, for his first case ending in 486, those are going to be guilty to both. Yeah.
Okay. All right. On his second case?
I'm sorry, Your Honor. That's gonna be Nolo. You say you what? And then on the third case for count 1, it's gonna be Nolo, and count 2, it's gonna be guilty.
All right. Okay. Any other announcements?
No, Your Honor.
All right. All right, so Mendoza Ceja.
Yes, so you on, Your Honor?
Yes. So Ms. Han, with Mr. Mendoza Ceja, is there a concern of any capacity issues?
No, Your Honor, not at all.
All right, so Ms. Tolles, we're ready to go forward on Mendoza Ceja.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Mendoza Ceja, please raise your right hand.
Señor Mendoza Ceja, por favor, levanta la mano derecha.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give will be true?
¿Jura o afirma solemnemente que el testimonio que va a dar será la verdad?
Sí.
Yes, I swear.
You're before the court for 3 cases.
Está aquí ante el tribunal por 3 casos.
State of Georgia versus Jose Santos Mendoza Ceja.
Estado de Georgia contra José Santos Mendoza Ceja.
For case 2022 CR 01486.
De caso 2022 CR 01486.
Pedestrian count 1 and disorderly conduct count 2.
Peatón, infracción número 1 y conducta escandalosa, infracción número 2.
You're entering a plea of guilty for each.
Se está declarando culpable a cada infracción.
You're represented by your attorney, Ms. Han.
Está representado por su abogada, la licenciada Han.
On the case 2022 CR 02095.
En cuanto al caso 2022 CR 02095,
you're entering a plea of nolo to criminal trespass.
se está declarando nulo ante la infracción de intrusión ilegal.
And on the case 2022 CR 05657,
Y luego, en cuanto al caso 2022 CR 05657,
you're entering a plea of nolo to criminal trespass.
se está declarando nulo ante la infracción de invasión ilegal
And guilty to simple battery on a police officer.
y luego culpable a la infracción de violencia simple en agravio de un agente de policía.
By entering these pleas, you give up the right to have a trial by jury or judge.
Al declararse a las infracciones, está renunciando su derecho a un juicio por juez o por jurado.
You give up the right to have the state prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt.
Renuncia al derecho a obligar al Estado a probar su culpabilidad fuera de una duda razonable.
You give up the right to present testimony and evidence on your behalf.
Renuncia al derecho de presentar testimonio y pruebas a su favor.
To not incriminate yourself or present any testimony or evidence against yourself.
El derecho a no incriminarse o presentar pruebas o declaraciones en su contra.
And if you are not a United States citizen, a plea of guilty or no contest could negatively impact your immigration status.
Y si no es ciudadano estadounidense, declararse culpable o declararse nulo puede posiblemente afectar su situación migratoria.
Do you understand all of these things, sir?
¿Entiende todas esas cosas, señor?
Sí.
Yes.
Factual basis and recommendation, interpreter speed, please, Ms. John.
¿Cuáles son los hechos que fundamentan la causa y la recomendación de la condena, por favor?
Yes, Your Honor. For the case ending in 01486,
Sí, su señoría. En cuanto al caso que termina en el 01486,
on April the 2nd of 2022,
el 12 de abril 2022,
an officer observed Mr. Amel at Krill Drive and West Fayetteville Road.
I'm sorry, Ms. Janvier. The interpreter has a question. Saw Mr. Amel or
No,
saw
I'm
a
sorry.
male?
Yeah, a male.
Oh, I'm sorry. And could you repeat those streets for me again?
Okay, Krill Drive and West Fayetteville Road.
Los agentes de policía observaron a un señor en la Krill Drive y la West Fayetteville Road.
Where the incident occurred in Clayton County.
Ocurrió lo sucedido en el condado de Clayton.
The male was walking in the middle of Krill Drive towards Fayetteville Road.
El señor iba caminando en el medio de la Krill Drive rumbo a la West Fayetteville Road.
The officer observed several vehicles blow their horns at the male, trying to avoid hitting him.
El agente observó que varios vehículos le pitaron al señor que iba caminando, tratando de evitar pegarlo.
The officer approached the male and could smell a strong odor of alcoholic beverage.
El agente se acercó al señor y percibió un olor muy fuerte a una bebida alcohólica.
The officer observed Mr. Mendozica swaying back and forth and having a hard time maintaining his balance.
El agente observó que el señor Mendoza Ceja tambaleaba al pararse y tenía dificultad para mantener el equilibrio.
The officer asked if he had consumed any alcohol. He said yes, some beers.
La gente le preguntó si había consumido algo de alcohol. Dijo que sí, unas cervezas.
When asked how many, he stated 4.
Cuando le preguntó cuánto, respondió 4.
When he provided his information, a check was run through GCIC.
Cuando dio su información, el agente rastreó sus datos a través de la base de datos del estado de Georgia.
The officer was able to confirm the identity of Mr. Mendoza.
El agente sí confirmó la identidad del señor Mendoza Ceja.
And Mr. Mendoza Ceja became hostile, started yelling and screaming profound language at the officer.
El señor Mendoza Ceja se puso hostil, empezó a gritar y usando vulgaridades al señor oficial.
And threatened to spit on the officers.
Y amenazó con escupirle a la gente.
At that time, he was taken into custody.
En ese momento fue detenido.
The state is recommending
El estado entonces está recomendando
for pedestrian under the influence
por la infracción de peatón bajo los efectos de alcohol
12 months to serve 28 days with credit for time served and the balance suspended.
12 meses para cumplir 28 días, acreditándole el tiempo cumplido con el saldo de ese tiempo suspendido.
For the disorderly conduct, 12 months to serve 2 days, credit for time served, balance suspended.
En cuanto a conducta escandalosa, 12 meses para cumplir 2 días, acreditándole el tiempo cumplido y el saldo de este tiempo quedará suspendido.
All right, Mr. Mendoza Ceja.
Yes.
I'm going to accept your plea and sentence you on count 1 to 12 months to serve 28 days, credit for time served, balance suspended as long as you have no new violations of the laws of the state of Georgia.
Bueno, señor Mendoza Ceja, le voy a imponer la condena para la primera infracción de 12 meses para cumplir 28 días, acreditándole el tiempo cumplido y el saldo del tiempo quedará suspendido con tal de que no tenga más infracciones de la ley. If the interpreter may stop one moment. I'm sorry, Your Honor. No new violations of the law for?
Of the state of Georgia.
Con tal de que no tenga más infracciones de la ley del estado de Georgia.
And on count 2, 12 months to serve 2 days, credit for time served, balance suspended as long as you have no new violations.
Y en cuanto a la infracción número 2, 12 meses para cumplir 2 días, acreditándole el tiempo que ya cumplió con el saldo de ese tiempo suspendido, con tal de que no tenga más infracciones de la ley del estado.
All right, Ms. Janvier, the second case, or the third case, I'm sorry.
Licenciado Janvier, el tercer caso, por favor.
We're only on the second one, Your Honor.
Es en el segundo ahora, su señoría.
Oh, shoot. Okay, I'm sorry, second case.
Disculpe, entonces, el segundo caso.
On May 22nd, 2022,
El 22 de mayo de 2022,
an officer responded to a disturbance
un agente acudió al lugar de un disturbio
at 5886 Seabright Lane in Clayton County, Georgia.
en el 5886 de la Seabright Lane, Clayton County, Georgia.
The officer observed a male lying on the floor near the pool unresponsive.
El agente observó que un señor estaba tirado sobre el piso cerca de la piscina que no respondía.
The victim advised that she went to the gate of the pool and it was locked.
La víctima informó al oficial que ella fue al portón de la piscina y el seguro estaba puesto.
At that time, the officer made contact.
En ese momento la gente tuvo contacto con el señor
And the offender opened his eyes and started smiling.
y el infractor abrió los ojos y empezó a sonreír.
Stood up and put his boots on and climbed over the fence.
Se paró, se puso las botas y se trepó por encima de la cerca.
The offender advised that he climbed the gate to take a shower.
El infractor informó que había atrapado la cerca para ducharse
Because his power was out.
porque ya se le había ido la luz.
At that time, the officer did take the offender into custody.
En ese momento, el señor oficial detuvo al acusado.
The state is recommending for the criminal trespass
En cuanto a la infracción de invasión ilegal,
12 months to serve 45 days. The balance would be suspended.
el Estado está recomendando una condena de 12 meses para hacer 45 días. El saldo de ese tiempo quedará suspendido.
With no contact with the victim.
Una condición de ningún contacto con la víctima.
And do not return.
Y que no vaya más al lugar de lo sucedido.
To 5886 Seabright Lane.
En el 5886, perdón, en el 5886 a la Seabright Lane.
All right. Mr. Mendoza Ceja, I'm going to accept your plea of nolo on the second case.
Muy bien, señor Mendoza Ceja, acepto su declaración de nolo. Al segundo caso.
I sentence you to 12 months to serve 45 days, balance suspended, as long as you have no contact with the victim named in this case, and as long as you do not go back to the incident location.
Señor, le voy a poner la condena de 12 meses para cumplir 45 días. El saldo del tiempo quedará suspendido con tal de que no tenga más contacto con la víctima y que no regrese más al lugar de lo sucedido.
All right, Ms. Janvier, you may commence with the third case.
Licenciada, puede proceder con el tercer caso.
On October 15th, 2022, an officer was dispatched to 5948 West Fayetteville Road for a domestic disturbance.
El 15 de octubre de 2022, al oficial lo despacharon a 5948 de la West Fayetteville Road debido a un disturbio doméstico.
This incident did occur in Clayton County.
El incidente sí ocurrió en el condado de Clayton.
The officer was met outside by the victim, Mary Lambert.
La víctima se encontró con el agente afuera, la señora Mary Lambert,
who advised she was trying to leave the location.
Ella informó que había tratado de irse del lugar.
When Mr. Mendoza Ceja grabbed her shoulder bag.
Cuando el señor Mendoza Ceja le agarró por la cartera que llevaba en el hombro.
And attempted to pull her back into the residence.
Y intentó jalarla para que regresara adentro de la casa.
Then he threw the bag into ongoing traffic.
Y luego aventó la cartera al tráfico que iba pasando.
At this time, the offender was placed under arrest.
En ese momento detuvieron al infractor.
And while being placed in the back seat of the patrol vehicle,
mientras lo subieron atrás en la patrulla,
he kicked the assisting officer in the leg.
Pateó al agente auxiliar en la pierna.
For the criminal trespass, the state is recommending 12 months to serve 30 days.
En cuanto a la infracción invasión ilegal, el Estado está recomendando 12 meses para cumplir 30 días,
Credit for time served,
acreditándole el tiempo cumplido.
as Mr. Mendoza Ceja has been in custody since October 15th.
Ya que el señor Mendoza Ceja lleva detenido desde el 15 de octubre.
The balance would be suspended
El saldo de ese tiempo quedará suspendido,
with no new violations of the law.
con tal de que no tenga más infracciones de la ley.
For the simple battery,
Y por lo de violencia simple,
12 months to serve 30 days,
12
balance
meses.
suspended.
12 meses para cumplir 30 días, el saldo de ese tiempo quedará suspendido.
With no new violations of the law.
Y que no tenga más infracciones de la ley.
And that runs concurrent, Your Honor.
Y será una condena simultánea, su señoría.
All right, Mr. Mendoza Ceja, I'm going to sentence you on count 1 in exchange for NOLO to 12 months to serve 30 days, credit for time served, balance suspended as long as you have no new violations.
Bueno, señor Mendoza Ceja, le voy a imponer la condena en cuanto a la infracción número 1, 12 meses para cumplir 30 días, acreditándole el tiempo ya cumplido y el saldo de ese tiempo quedará suspendido con tal de que no tenga más infracciones nuevas.
On count 2, I'll accept your guilty plea and sentence you to 12 months to serve 30 days, balance suspended as long as you'd have no new violations to run concurrent with count 1.
Y perdón, señor, en cuanto a la condena para la primera, es a cambio de su declaración de nolo. En cuanto a la segunda infracción, a cambio de su declaración de culpable, le voy a imponer la condena de 12 meses para cumplir 30 días, acreditándole el tiempo que ya cumplió, el saldo del tiempo quedará suspendido, con tal de que no tenga más infracciones de la ley.
Mr. Mendoza Ceja, it appears to the court that, sir, you are an alcoholic.
Señor Mendoza Ceja, ante el tribunal parece que usted es alcohólico.
I would advise you, sir, to get some help.
Yo le exhorto, por favor, que busque una ayuda.
Alcoholics Anonymous is a good place to start.
Alcohólicos Anónimos sería un buen comienzo.
There are meetings everywhere. There are meetings in Spanish.
Hay reuniones por todos lados y en español.
And there are individuals who will understand what you are going through and help you get to a better place in your addiction.
Y hay personas que sí entenderán con lo que está lidiando y ayudarán a que usted esté en un mejor lugar.
Anytime you spend this much time away from your normal life in jail because of alcohol, this is a serious problem.
Siempre y cuando uno pasa tanto tiempo alejado de su vida normal, detenido por problemas de alcohol, entonces es un problema.
The only shame is if you don't seek help.
La única vergüenza es no buscar ayuda.
Because I'm sure that there are people who depend on you and who love you and who want to see you do better.
Porque seguramente hay gente que depende de usted, que lo quiere y quiere ver que usted esté mejor.
And you should want to do better for yourself because there is a lot to enjoy in life.
Y usted mismo debería querer hacer mejor porque hay mucho para disfrutar en esta vida.
Okay, so sir,
¿Está
you'll
bien?
be getting out today if there's no one else, nothing else holding you.
Entonces, señor, usted saldrá hoy mismo si no hay nada más que lo retenga acá.
All right, you can go back with the sheriff's office.
Ya
Your
puede
Honor.
regresar, señor. Gracias.
Yes.
I think you just answered my question, but just to clarify, he is getting credit for time served on the second case.
I gave him credit for time served on all of them, I thought.
Okay, I just want to clarify. Thank you.
Sure. All right, Ms. Tolles, I think that is all for you. Thank you so much. And I know there are other places that you probably need to be.
Thank you so much.
All
Please
right,
check, just call back if you need me.
Okay, thank you. All right, so next is Leonard.
Who do you need, Your Honor?
We can go with Leonard.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Leonard, raise your right hand for me. You solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true.
Yes, I do, Ms. Hayward.
All right, you can put your hand down, sir. You're before the court for a probation revocation.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, 1 second. All right, so you're before the court, Robert Lawrence Leonard Jr. And you were before this court on 2019 CR 07155 and 2021 CR 04384 and 2021 CR 08212 and 2022 CR 00601. You were before this court on battery, family violence, driving under the influence, driving on a suspended or revoked license, open container violation, disorderly conduct, and theft by shoplifting on the 7th day of June of 2022. You were sentenced to 36 months on probation. You have 29 months and 23 days remaining on probation. It says that you failed to avoid injurious and vicious habits, that you have tested positive for alcohol and the metabolites of alcohol on October 6th of 2022. Also, you failed to complete a risk reduction program for your DUI. You failed to show any proof of completing 80 hours of community service, and you failed to pay. Mr. Leonard, you're represented by Ms. Hahn. I'm sorry, by Mr. Kamani. And Mr. Kamani, you and your client have agreed that he is going to stipulate and agree to the recommendation from probation.
That's right, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Chang, what's the recommendation for probation?
Yes, Your Honor, we're recommending that probation be revoked 11 days, credit for time served since December 2nd. He's to return to probation. We're recommending that he get a second evaluation, Your Honor, by December 30th, 2022, and that he disclose that he tested positive for alcohol on October the 6th. Also, we're recommending that he document completion of a risk reduction program by February 15th, 2023. And that he also complete the first 80 hours of community service submit proof of completion by February 15th, 2023. Also that he submit to drug screening every report.
All right, anything else, ma'am?
That's all, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, so Mr. Leonard.
Yes, ma'am.
So Mr. Leonard, how old are you?
37, ma'am.
How old?
37.
Did anybody else hear that? 37, okay. All right, so Mr. Leonard, you are young. Trust me, you are very, very young, but it will go quickly. And the problem is you don't want to spend the rest of your life in and out of jail for alcohol. You acknowledge that you got a drinking problem, right?
No, ma'am. I actually, can I tell you the reason? I just got a job, and me and my colleagues, we just went out and had a drink, and that's
so
how
Mr. Leonard, let me stop you there because I don't have time to waste today. So let me just tell you, when I say you have a problem with alcohol, anytime alcohol is responsible for you being in an orange jumpsuit, Anytime
Yes, ma'am.
alcohol is responsible for you missing 11 days on a job you just got, anytime alcohol results in a DUI conviction, anytime alcohol results in you coming back to jail because I told you not to drink and you still went out and drank, even though you said, well, we went out to celebrate. Sir, the desire to celebrate by drinking alcohol should have been overcome by two things. One, I just got a job and I can't afford to lose it. And two, if I drink, that's a violation of my probation and I run the risk of going back to jail. If common sense doesn't overcome your desire to drink, you, sir, are an alcoholic. And there's no shame to it. Everybody seems to attach this big shame to it. There's all kinds of reasons. Sometimes alcohol is a trauma response. Like you got two things going on. One, you're drinking because it's a response to something that you're not able to deal with. And two, you're drinking and it takes you out of your normal life because you have an addiction complex that is a medical condition. But either way, if you can't admit to it, then that's just going to lead you to be back here in jail at another point. Because what's to stop you from celebrating another time?
This orange jumpsuit, like you said, man.
You see what I'm saying? So if you try and snow me, and it doesn't work because I've been doing this too long. If you try and snow me by telling me, oh no, I was just celebrating. Well, my first question is going to be, you would risk a new job and going back to jail to celebrate getting the job? You could have just had a soda?
You're correct, man. Yes, Ms.
I know I'm correct. I want you to get it. I got it already. But I want you to get it, because until you get that you and alcohol don't mix, until you get that, we're going to keep having this issue. And right now you're risking losing a good job. But what you also risk is that you could end up hurting yourself or someone else because you can't stop drinking.
Yes, ma'am. They actually being that once I got the job, they used all my PTO and my sick time because I'm a good worker. So my job is actually being held for me. Thank you.
Well, that's a good thing, but think about it. They're doing this one time because they're giving you an opportunity. Imagine what happens if you don't acknowledge it and you do it again.
That's correct.
I mean, they're only going to give you so many chances, and then after that they're going to say, well, we have more of a risk of having him on our job than not. All right, so I want you to think about that, and I'm going to revoke 11 days. I'll give you credit for time served, and then return you to probation.
Yes, ma'am. I definitely have the DUI risk reduction course done by the 15th and my 8 hours also.
Okay. Also, I'm going to order that you will have the that you're going to do the second evaluation by December 30th.
Yes. Does that coincide with the DUI risk reduction?
No, those are two separate things.
Okay. Because I know I did one in September.
Right, but they didn't seem to think that you had the problem that I see that you have.
Yes, ma'am.
So they got pulled up for much to do. See, that's a road cut. What was on that? It's cost. Before I have, you know what I'm doing? Going to each conversation about the vote. But you know, I'm doing shit. Just.
All right. So, sir, ooh, this is one of the longest recommendations I've done in a minute. Defendant is going to have 11 days revoked. He'll receive credit for time served and return to probation. He will do a second substance abuse evaluation by 12/30/2022. He shall disclose the positive alcohol screen result to the evaluator. He shall complete risk reduction class by February 15, 2023, and 80 hours of community service by February 15, 2023. You shall test at each report. And sir, you're going to have to do Alcoholics Anonymous. So in February, after you complete this community service and the risk reduction course, I'm going to order you to start attending 2 AA meetings per week. And show proof of having attended.
Do they do that on weekends also?
I'm sorry?
On weekends, is that?
I'm sorry, did somebody say something?
Do they do AA meetings on the weekends?
They do them every time, weekends, mornings, nights, middle of the night. You just have to find one, and they have them. Just look on Google. All right, so 2 AA meetings per week starting on February 20th of 2023. So that way you can get the rest of that stuff out taken care of, and then do your AA meetings. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, now, sir, you got to take your sobriety seriously, because that foolishness you told me about, I was just drinking to celebrate. If you're willing to risk all this to celebrate getting a job, then you have a bigger problem than I think. Okay, but once you admit it, then you can work on it. Okay. All right. Any questions?
Yes, ma'am. How long would I be able to do the sessions at AA?
You can do them for the rest of your life. Alcoholism is a lifelong thing, Mr. Leonard. That ain't something you're going to cure tomorrow. You need to continue them for your life, but you're going to continue them for the remaining 28 months that you're on probation.
Okay.
So hopefully by the time you're off probation, it will become a lifestyle and your life will have changed appreciably.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you can go back with the sheriff's office. Ms. Chang, does he have a date to return to probation?
Your Honor, if you would report to me in person tomorrow, it can be in the morning, 10 a.m. or in the afternoon, 2 p.m.
All right. So you got either a 10 a.m. report or a 2 p.m. report tomorrow. Don't miss it, sir. All right. Okay. You can go back with the sheriff's office. Ooh, I love it. We can have brown.
Brown.
Raise your right hand for me, sir. You solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true.
Yeah.
All right, you can put your hand down. Ms. Chang, did you send me Mr. Brown's petition?
Your Honor, I will be taking care of Mr. Brown's petition this morning.
I'm trying to find it. One second.
Sent by Officer O'Kelly.
Oh, okay. I see it now.
Gotta have it on, sir.
All right, got it. All right, so Mr. Carl Anthony Brown, you're before the court on 2020 CR 05400 for a petition for revocation of probation. So, sir, you are before this court for battery on the 12th day of September 2022, and you were sentenced to 12 months on probation. And you have 8 months and 28 days remaining. The sentence was not told because we did know where you were. But sir, you have been arrested for the violation of criminal law on criminal damage in the 2nd degree, which is a felony, and aggravated assault, which is also a felony, on or about February 25th of 2022. You've also failed to complete community service. You were to do 40 hours of community service. You haven't documented any of the 40 hours. You failed to comply with counseling. You were given an anger management program, and you failed to provide, you've provided proof of completing 5 of the 8 sessions, but you did not complete all of the sessions.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Proof on my phone. I have proof on my notebook at home, and I have proof on my text message. Me and her talking, I did 10 classes and then pay for 8. So I did my classes, notebooks, and I did all my weekend jail. I told my station officer I couldn't do my 40 hours community service in this area at the time we worked.
Mr.
So
Brown, now is the time.
Okay, so Mr. Brown, first of all, work does not take precedence over something that could be a potential jail sentence. Because if you mess up on probation, then you're going to miss work anyway, because they're not going to let you do your work in jail. We clear? So aren't you missing work now?
It is what it is.
I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, it is, you're right. It is what it is. But I'm just saying, if you miss probation in lieu of work, you're going to miss work in lieu of probation jail time. I'm just saying. So, Ms. Hahn, you all, it is my understanding, have a stipulation and agreement to the recommendations from the probation?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So, and those will be to the technicals only, as is my policy, unless you are specifically admitting to something with the new charges. I generally do not allow that. I'm going to note that these are to the technicals only that you are stipulating. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor, that's correct.
All right. And what's the recommendation, Ms. Menard?
Be 120 days to serve, and suspend the balance, close the case.
How old are you, Mr. Brown?
35.
So, Mr. Brown, I'm gonna need you at some point to kind of take a look at your life. So you're gonna be in jail for the next 120 days minus whatever you've already served. Okay. So I'm gonna need you to look at what's going on in your life and how you have ended up here in this space. I mean, you can say it is what it is, but really it's a waste. Like, you're making choices that are going to result with you spending time in jail. And maybe those aren't choices that you're making because you want to make them, but it's maybe choices that you're making because you've been conditioned to react a certain way and to respond a certain way to things. But there are a lot of different options when it comes to how you respond. And those options don't result with you ending up going to jail or hurting someone or being hurt. You see what I'm saying? You have options. And so if immediately you take it to, I got to get that person back, or I got to respond with violence, then this is what happens. And we got way too many people, way too many young men in jail for, reasons of making wrong choices or responding in violence when it's really not necessary. So I just need you to think about that, because you're going to go upstairs, and I'm not a superior court judge. I think I just have a little bit too much. I don't know that I want to do that, like sentencing people to like lifetime jail. But they got some judges up there who have no problems, who will look at your case, and once the verdict comes down and it's guilty, they'll sentence you to some hard time in prison. This is jail. They're talking prison. And so think about the choices you're making, because that's where you're headed. And that's not pleasant at all. I don't care how big you are. I don't care how tough you are. In prison, there's always somebody bigger and tougher. I'm just saying. So I'm going to revoke 120 days. And after service of 120 days with credit since the date of lockup, your case will be closed. All right. Did you have any questions, sir?
Would the days go towards the next case too? Well,
See,
I'm
I
still
don't
gonna have
know.
to
The attorney who handles that case upstairs, because these are two separate courts, they can ask for that, and maybe a judge will allow it, but I can't do it. Like, I can't affect another judge's case. Okay, so you can have your attorney ask for it, but I can't do it.
That's it.
Okay. All right, so I have that you'll serve, you'll have 120 days revoked, and after service of 120 days, your case will be closed. You'll serve that with credit for since lockup. And sir, you've done the classes, so hopefully some of those things that you learned in the classes will help you as you're sitting there thinking about what's coming next. Hopefully you'll take some of those things that you learned in the class, and that will help you move forward on the case that you have and whatever happens with that. Okay. All right. I'm going to send the order over now, and sir, you can go back with the sheriff's office.
All right.
What do you need next, Your Honor?
McCarter.
Morning, Your Honor.
Good morning, Mr. McCarter. Raise your right hand for me. You solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So, Mr. McCarter, you're here on a probation revocation. One moment while I pull that up for you, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so Mr. McCarter, you're before the court for State of Georgia versus Martavius Dion McCarter, 2021 CR 04311. You were before the court for speeding 35 miles per hour over and too fast for conditions on October 6th of 2022 and sentenced to 12 months on probation. And that should have been pay-only probation unless there was a class that you had to take. But now you're before the court for violation of the law. It's alleged that you had a new violation of battery, cruelty to children in the 3rd degree, and obstruction and hindering an emergency telephone call on December 4th of 2022 in Clayton County. failure to complete a defensive driving course, and failure to pay. You're represented by Mr. Kamani, is it correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Kamani, it's my understanding that you've chosen to stipulate and agree to the case before the court.
Yes, Your Honor, to the technicals only.
All right. All right. What's the recommendation, Ms. Menard?
30 days to serve and suspend the balance.
All right. So, Mr. McCarter, it's recommended that you serve 30 days on this case. And Mr. McCarter, also understand that this does not resolve the charges you've been that you have pending. Those will come up from the magistrate court, and we'll deal with those when they come up from magistrate court. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Your Honor.
All right. Yes.
Your Honor, he's been in custody since December 4th. If he would get credit from the date of lockup.
All right. Any objection, Ms. Menard?
No, Your Honor.
All right. All right, 1 second. All right, so Mr. McCarter, I'm going to accept your the stipulation to the technicals. You'll have 30 days revoked. You'll receive credit since lockup. After service of the 30 days, your case shall be suspended as long as you have no new violations of the laws of the state of Georgia. So that does not include the case that you're already charged with. That case will come before the court and will be adjudicated separately. But also, sir, I need to remind you that you have a bond condition that requires that you have no contact with someone who's listed on your bond condition. So it may be the listed victim. If y'all share any children together, you're not to have any contact with her other than you can mail child support payments to the home, but to have no other contact and to include no other correspondence, because if you were to violate your no contact provision, you could have this sentence revoked, you could have the sentence that you're on probation for revoked, and you could be charged with additional misdemeanors and or felonies. All of those things could happen. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so I know it's Christmas time and everybody thinks that they're gonna make up and come back together and it's Christmas and the love of Santa and whoever else in your heart. But let me make clear to you, even if that person reaches out to you, they won't get in trouble, but you will. All right, so you can document it and share that information with your attorney if you choose to, but you are not to have any contact with anybody listed in your bond conditions. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So, all right. So at this time, Mr. McCarter, you can go back with the sheriff's office.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Next is Price.
Price. Have a seat. Have a seat. Have a seat.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. You're before the court on State of Georgia versus Shantae Lamar Price. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Raise your right hand for me. You solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true.
Yes, ma'am. I do.
Don't ask him about.
You can put your hand down. So Mr. Price, you're before the court on this petition, and you were before this court on theft by shoplifting on the 2nd day of November 2021, and you were given 11 months on probation. You have 3 months and 6 days remaining. Your sentence was told because we lost track of you, sir. You stopped reporting to probation. So, sir, you are charged with failure to report to probation by mail on February 15th of 2022, May 15th of 2022, and within 10 days of June 9th of 2022. You last reported on April 20th of 2022 by mail. You are $650 in arrears, and you have not addressed that obligation. So, Mr. Price, why did you, wait a minute, is this Mr. Kamani or Ms. Hahn?
Mr. Kamani.
All right, so Mr. Kamani, you all are stipulating and agreeing to the recommendation, is that correct?
That's right, Your Honor.
All right, so what happened, where was Mr. Price during this period of time?
Your Honor, he was incarcerated before in Fulton County and then thereafter in Fayette County. So since May till December, he was in jail. So that's the reason.
Mr. Price, let me hear from the probation office regarding what they're recommending. What are y'all recommending in this case?
Your Honor, we're recommending that he be returned to probation on time served. He was arrested December 2nd here. We were not aware that he was in Fulton County or Fayette County jail.
I know, right? It's okay for me to speak.
Talk to your lawyer.
I had a certificate of incarceration delivered to my probation.
Price, we'll speak later, okay? We'll talk about
it. Okay. Yes,
all right. So, Mr. Price, let me just say this. So I'm going to return you to probation under the same conditions. Go ahead and get that stuff finished so you can be done with this case. But what I advise, Mr. Price, how old are you, sir?
42.
Mr. Price, you still young. Compared to me, you young. When you gonna be finished with this cycle of jail, in and out of jail? Because 42, see, like they have this joke about being the old man in the club. We got so many youngsters coming to jail now. You about to be the old man in the jail, and that's not a good look, sir.
I've since turned my life over to Christ, so I'm not. This is the last stop of my farewell tour.
Thank goodness, because like I said, there's so many of these young people, these knuckleheads coming into the jails now. They're gonna need your room, number one, and number two. I mean, at our age, and trust, I'm a little bit older than you. I know you can't tell, but at our age, we need comfort. We need stuff like get up in our own bed, eat when we want to eat, not having to deal with these young heads trying to challenge us. That's what we need at this age. We don't need to have to go a place where somebody telling me what to do and they just don't understand that, you know, like I ain't a morning person. You know, all of those quirks that we develop over time, we need our space to deal with those. We don't need to be in the jail. We clear?
Crystal clear.
All right, so Mr. Price, I'm going to return you to probation. Complete this probation, sir, so you can be done with it, and go ahead and do whatever you were ordered to do so that this doesn't become your constant reality, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, because this, do you have kids?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you know, this is the time when you need to be a constant present in your kid's life, because you want to make sure that your children aren't these knuckleheads out here in the street who ended up in jail. You need to be that constant presence to make sure that if you got female children, that they're not out here running around with some of these knuckleheads and then they gonna end up hurt or in jail.
Yes.
So you need to be out there giving, in some part, some of your experience, your life experience, or what has happened to you and what is not a good look, but also you need to be there to reinforce good choices.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely.
So, sir, I'm going to return you to probation. If there's nothing else holding you, you'll get out today. And then Ms. Chang, what's his probation report time?
Your Honor, if you'll report in person to our office tomorrow at 1:30.
All right, at 1:30 tomorrow, okay?
Okay.
All right, Mr. Price, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. That's all I have. May I be excused?
Yes, ma'am, thank you. And if I
Thank
don't
you.
see you, happy holiday.
Thank you, Your Honor. Same to you.
All right, and let's see what we got. So, Courtney Hargraves. Did I get all the petitions? All right, Mr. Hargraves, raise your right hand for me. You solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true.
Yes.
All right, you can put your hand down. Ms. Hahn, are you representing Mr. Hargraves?
No, Your Honor, I'm not.
Is anybody from Lister and Holt represented? Mr. Kamani, you got Mr. Hargraves? Did y'all?
Your Honor, I think there was some mix-up. I need to speak to him.
All right, hold on, Mr. Hargraves. Deputy, can you take him back for a second and give me, did y'all speak to Hernandez Martinez?
I'm sorry, yeah, Your Honor, I'm so sorry. I got mixed up. Yes, I am representing Mr. Hargraves. I apologize.
Did you speak to him?
Yes, I did over a jail visit yesterday. I'm so sorry.
Are y'all ready for a plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, bring Hargraves back. Thank you.
That's my fault. I apologize.
All right, so Mr. Hargraves, you're before the court on 2022 CR 06799. Raise your right hand for me. You solemnly swear or affirm any testimony we give in this matter will be true?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. All right. So you can, you're before the court for a criminal trespass and public drunk. Ms. Hahn, representing Mr. Hargraves. What does Mr. Hargraves plead to the offenses before the court?
It can be nolo to both, Your Honor.
All right. By entering a plea of nolo, you give up the right to have a trial by jury or judge. You give up the right to have the state prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You give up the right to have the presumption of innocence in your favor. You give up the right to confront witnesses, subpoena witnesses, present testimony and evidence on your behalf, to not incriminate yourself or present any testimony or evidence against yourself. And if you are not a United States citizen, a plea of guilty or no contest could negatively impact your immigration status. Do you understand all of these things?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Factual basis and recommendation, please.
Yes, Your Honor. On November 25th, 2022, an officer responded to a domestic disturbance at 5523 Glen Haven Drive, where the incident occurred in Clayton County. The officer made contact with the victim, Carlisa Green, who advised that herself and the offender, Mr. Hargraves, had gotten into a verbal altercation in which she had asked Mr. Hargraves to leave the residence. At that time, Mr. Hargraves then went around to the front door and was banging on the front door, and then went to the backyard and banged on the back door and the kitchen window, and then damaged the kitchen window while banging on it. Later, the officer observed Mr. Hargraves walking up to the residence. He was staggering. The officer observed that his speech was slurred, and he was screaming at the officer. The officer tried to get Mr. Hargraves to share what had happened, but he continued to be unruly and irate. At that time, Mr. Hargraves was taken into custody. The state is recommending for the criminal trespass, 12 months probation, $300 fine, 40 hours of community service, restitution for the window, $200, and do not return to 5523 Glen Haven Drive. For the public drunk, 12 months to serve 3 days. Credit for the time served, and the balance be probated and to run concurrent with count 1, Your Honor.
All right, what municipality is the Glen Haven Drive in?
That's Clayton County, Your Honor.
Okay, that's what county, what city
Oh, I'm
is it?
sorry. This says Atlanta.
Okay, all right. So it's the Atlanta Clayton County part. All right, so Ms. Hahn, anything on behalf of Mr. Hargraves?
No, Your Honor, just that he gets credit from the data block up.
Mr. Hargraves, how old are you?
33.
Mr. Hargraves, you too old to have this kind of in the street, public drunk, pissy drunk foolishness. What's going on?
I had too much to drink one night and made some bad decisions. I regret it.
Okay. Cause I mean, has too much to drink and go to bed, that's one thing, but have too much to drink and break a window, pick a fight with a police officer, that's a lot, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna need you to stop 3 drinks before you get to that point.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so sir, I'm going to accept your plea of no load to counts 1 and 2. I'll sentence you on count 1 to 12 months probation, a fine in the amount of $300, which is going to be $444 with the surcharges, and 40 hours of community service. You'll also pay restitution in the amount of $200 to Miss Carlisa Green, and you're not to go back to 5523 Glen Haven in Atlanta, Clayton County. On count 2, your NOLO plea, I'll send you to 12 months to serve 3 days. Credit for time served. Balance will be probated to run concurrent with count 1. All right. So, Mr. Hargrave, I'm going to put the jail in a breakout room with Mr. Carmichael. He's going to explain probation to you and give you any information that you need to have about reporting. But this is the most important part. If you fail to report to probation, that is the quickest way to get into jail. Do you understand?
Yes,
Failure to report is the quickest way to get me to sign an arrest warrant for you. All right. So, Mr. Carmichael, once you and the jail are back, then we'll continue. All right. The jail can go into breakout room number 6.
Hold on, Your Honor, can I ask you something real quick?
Sure, Mr. Carmichael.
Is there any way I can postpone talking to him? I have someone else in my office I'm trying to sign up, so I'll get back to him later on.
Well, the only reason I say no is because I'm trying to get the jail, like when we send people down for the jail, I want them to go down all the way, and that way they have fewer inmates to deal with. Is it possible somebody else can help him?
I'll talk to him, that's fine. You'll just have to stand there for a quick minute while I help this person walk past.
Okay, so so the jail and Mr. Carmichael will be in breakout room number 6.
Also, Your Honor.
Yes, Ms. Hahn.
I think you had asked before, Mr. Hargraves, if we had finished all the petitions. I think there was, I know.
Yeah, there's one left. So here's my question on the petition. So I know we did Mr. Leonard, but I look and I see he has 2 other petitions. I think we did the biggest one, which was the driving under the influence, but he also has one for disorderly conduct and theft by shoplifting. Who represented Mr. Leonard?
Your Honor, I represented.
Okay. Did you and Ms. Chang have an agreement on those to run concurrent with the other one?
Your Honor, Ms. Chang has sent only one petition for all the cases together.
Okay, then that's fine.
Yeah.
If that was for all of them together, then that petition, that should include the other ones, 2021 CR 08212. And I think I did, yeah, you're right. I think I did state all of those charges together. Okay, that's fine. That was my only question. All right, and we'll continue. And then when I get to that other petition, we'll go ahead and do that. I thought I had gotten them all.
I'm going home, man. Is that what you said? I mean, I don't know. It's all officially.
Thank you, Deputy.
Your Honor, he wants to ask you a question.
Sure, Mr. Hargraves, what you got?
Is the blood go home today?
Is my understanding, yeah.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
You good to go back.
All right, so Deputy, may I have Mr. Giovanni Hernandez Martinez, please?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Raise your right hand for me, sir. Do you solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true?
Sure.
All right, you can put your hand down. So Mr. Hernandez Martinez, you're before the court on 2022 TK 09292 for pedestrian in the roadway. How does your client plead to this offense, Ms. Khan?
Your Honor, he'd like to plead nolo.
All right, by entering a plea of nolo, you give up the right to have a trial by jury or judge. You give up the right to have the state prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You give up the right to have the presumption of innocence in your favor. You give up the right to confront witnesses, subpoena witnesses, present testimony and evidence on your behalf, to not incriminate yourself or present any testimony or evidence against yourself. And Mr. Hernandez Martinez, if you are not a United States citizen, a plea of guilty or no contest could negatively impact your immigration status. Do you understand all of these things, sir?
I understand.
All right, factual basis recommendation, please.
Yes, Your Honor. On April 27th of 2021, an officer responded to 330 Arrowhead Boulevard, apartment 39D, where the incident occurred in Clayton County, in reference to a 911 caller alleging that she heard a knob turning on her front door. Once the officer arrived, he checked the area and he observed a subject walk to the rear of the building. The officer then made contact with who was later identified as Mr. Martinez, and Mr. Martinez explained that he was visiting a friend. However, there were two other individuals the officer also made contact with at that time. They advised they did not live in the location and they were just hanging out. So the officer determined that the individuals, including Mr. Martinez, was loitering. The state is recommending 12 months to serve 3 days. Credit for time served as credit for time served and the balance to be suspended.
All right. Anything else, Ms. Hahn?
No, Your Honor.
All right. So, sir, you're before the court on a no-low plea. I'll sentence you to 12 months to serve 3 days, balance suspended. As long as you have no new violations of the laws of the state of Georgia, you should be getting out today. Okay, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you. All right. Gabriel Clay Johnson.
Who's Johnson? Johnson.
Raise your right hand for me, Mr. Johnson. You solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true.
Yes.
All right, you can put your hand down. Ms. Hahn, what does your client plead to? Unlawful conduct on a 911 call?
Nolo, Your Honor.
Mr. Johnson, by entering a plea of nolo, you give up the right to have a trial by jury or judge. You give up the right to have the state prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You give up the right to have the presumption of innocence in your favor. You give up the right to confront witnesses, subpoena witnesses, present testimony and evidence on your behalf. to not incriminate yourself or present any testimony or evidence against yourself. And sir, if you're not a United States citizen, a plea of guilty or no contest could negatively impact your immigration status. Do you understand all of these things, sir?
Yes.
All right. Factual basis and recommendation, please.
Yes, Your Honor. On November 24th, 2022, an officer responded to 911 calls at 11174 Lennox Drive in Hampton, Georgia. An incident occurred in Clayton County. On the first call, the officer made contact with Mr. Johnson, who advised that his girlfriend was missing and she wasn't answering any calls. The officer was able to actually speak with the girlfriend and advise that once she's done, she's going to come back. Done with her family, she'll be back. The offender then called 911 for a second time, stated he was having a heart attack. And then when law enforcement arrived at the same location again on the same day, EMS assessed him and determined that he was not having a heart attack and his vitals were perfect. At that time, the officer advised that between the two calls, that he was misusing the 911 number and was then taken into custody. For the unlawful conduct during the 911 call, the state is recommending 12 months to serve 10 days credit for the time served, as Mr. Johnson has been in custody since November 24th. The balance is to be probated and there's a $500 fine.
All right, Ms. Hahn, or Ms. Hahn.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, so Mr. Johnson, I'm going to accept your plea and I'll send you to 10 days to serve credit for time served. The balance of the 12 months will be on probation for you to pay a fine in the amount of $500. That's $737.50. Now, Mr. Johnson, what was going on that day? Were you drinking or were you having an anxiety attack? What was going on?
I do have anxiety, I do, and I don't think I should be charged anything for this because I've already been locked up. I mean, I thought I was having a heart attack. Yeah, I did take an EKG. Yeah, my records show that my blood pressure was elevated. Yes, I do take 2 blood pressure types daily, twice a day, in the morning and in the afternoon.
So
and
this
I also have schizophrenia, and I was treated very.
Okay, so Mr. Johnson, listen to me carefully. So I'm going to put you on probation, okay? But if you can show having, if you can bring to probation a doctor's information showing that you have anxiety or schizophrenia or any of those things you named, then I'll suspend the fine.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So, because I understand that anxiety reads as a heart attack. I get it. A lot of people have had that same experience. So if that's what's going on with you, then I'm going to go ahead and like I said, I'll make you this deal. You get me something from a doctor's office. And then once it confirms that you have anxiety or schizophrenia or some condition that would cause you to believe you had a heart attack, then we will suspend the fine. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So what I'm going to do is, so right now, hold on now. I'm going to put you on probation. But like I said, once you give me the information and you show it to your probation officer, then your probation will be suspended. But I'm going to put you in a breakout room with Mr. Carmichael so he can do intake so you'll know what's required for probation. Okay.
Okay.
All right. And then the quickest way to get rearrested until your probation is ended is you got to report. Otherwise, you're going to get rearrested. All right.
Get that taken care of.
All right.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. So so I'm going to put the jail in breakout room number 6 with Mr. Carmichael. And once y'all come back, then we'll go ahead and finish the rest of the calendar. All right, Mr. Johnson, you go on back, sir. Okay. And you should be getting out today.
Okay, thank you. Have a blessed day.
You too, sir.
Thank you for your.
It's okay, sir. I understand.
I thank you.
Hold on, hold on, hold on.
Oh, yes.
He's going to
You're
the breakout room, right? You're
Yeah, he's got to go to the breakout room.
You stop waving at me.
All right, when they come back, then we'll finish up the calendar.
Well, Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Johnson, you can go back with the sheriff's office. You should be released today, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a blessed day.
You too, sir.
You can go back.
Back home.
Mm-hmm. What? Chill out.
All right, so Mr. Jordan.
Thank you, guys.
Raise your right hand for me, sir. You solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can put your hand down, Mr. Jordan. You're before the court on State of Georgia versus Antoine Jordan, 2019 CR 07639. You were before this court on the 25th day of October 2022 and sentenced to 12 months on probation for DUI alcohol 0.08 grams or more, and 21 and over for or more. I'm sorry. Excuse me, and speeding 21 miles per hour or more over the limit. You have 10 months and 12 days remaining on probation, and you tested positive for alcohol on November 7th of 2022 while at probation services. So Ms. Hahn, is Mr. Jordan your client?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you all have agreed to stipulate to the technicals?
Yes, Your Honor, that's correct.
All right, what's the recommendation in this case?
The recommendation would be to give Mr. Jordan credit for time served and return to probation. He will be drug and alcohol screened each report. And he is to attend at least one AA or one MA meeting per week and show proof each report.
Okay, so Mr. Jordan, so the recommendation is what it is, because when someone has an alcohol problem, when someone is an addict and has a substance abuse problem, the expectation of the court is you're gonna mess up because you have not embraced the whole concept of I have a condition that I need to treat on the regular. It's like high blood pressure or diabetes. If you don't treat it, it will take you out of here. But what happens with a lot of people who have not acknowledged that they have an alcohol problem is that they feel like they can control it. And so, you know, they'll take chances that, you know, hey, I know if I get caught drinking alcohol after the judge told me not to, then I'm gonna go to jail and I'm gonna miss time on my job and I'm miss time away from my family. But because you have addiction issues, you're willing to risk that. And so until you acknowledge that you have an addiction and that you're willing to do what it takes to treat that addiction, then we're gonna keep going around and around with this cycle. Like, I'm not sure what would have enticed you to drink alcohol, knowing that I told you not to drink alcohol, or if you do, then you could possibly be arrested for that. And then here we are. So if you want to tell me, you can. Go ahead.
Well, I like when I get out of jail, I was like basically homeless or whatever, and I was like sleeping on benches or trying to find somewhere to sleep in. So one day I just jumped, try to get the stress off me. But like it wasn't something I just constantly done, but I admit that I did do it and I messed up.
Okay, so how are things gonna change if I put you back on the street?
I'm not gonna do it no more, man, because I don't want to like keep going through being incarcerated. And, like as far as like,
I know, but
like,
let's talk practically. So let's talk what it really means. Like when you out there on the street, do you have a place to stay? Are you still dealing with homelessness? What's going on?
Like right now, I'm still like kind of dealing with homeless. I found a job or whatever. Like I've been trying to do everything as far as my probation or whatever, but it's still been hard for me because even though I'm working or whatever, I gotta pay either for a hotel, they're like $400 and some a week, stuff like that. Like if I don't got all the money, I just pay my uncle whatever I can pay him to stay with him, stuff like that. But it's still been hard on me. But like I've been trying to do everything I need to do to abide by probation or whatever.
Okay,
like,
so I believe we waived your fees, but if we haven't, then we'll waive your probation supervision fees. But here's the issue that I have. So Mr. Jordan, if you're gonna, like, if you're in a situation where you got to stay with a relative and you got to, you know, and I don't mind you having to pay to stay with a relative because you're grown, you should have to pay your way. But what I do say is, if you are going to be dependent on the kindness of your relatives to help house you, then the one thing you need to do is to make sure that you're respectful when you're in their home, that you're not going in there drinking, that you're not going in there being disruptive, because if somebody's willing to put you up and you're in this tough situation, you got to be respectful of that. We clear?
Yes, ma'am. And then another thing, I just had a stroke last Saturday, so my whole left side is gone.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'll accept your agreement and stipulation. You'll receive credit for time served. You're going to return to probation. You're going to test for substances at each report, and you're going to attend one AA or NA class per week. The AA and NA classes are free. You just have to find out where they are and attend one per week and show proof of having attended. But here's the other thing. If you have had a stroke, alcohol will kill you.
Yes, ma'am.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you, sir?
37.
Yeah, if you keep drinking, it's gonna kill you. And I understand that times are hard, but that is the reality of it. I want you to attend these AA or NA meetings because there'll be other people there who are in a similar situation or who may know of some thing that may help you in your situation. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that's what I'm asking you to do, is to make sure you attend these classes, because that's crucial that you get the help that you need. All right? What's his report date and time, Ms. Menard?
He needs to report this Thursday, which is December 15th at 1 p.m.
All right, so Thursday at 1 p.m., you need to report in person to probation. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am. Thursday.
Don't miss your probation report.
At what time, ma'am?
1 p.m. All right?
Yes, ma'am. What day?
That's the 15th, Thursday. Thursday at 1. Repeat it after me.
Thursday the 15th at 1.
All right. Okay, you're good to go, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. And next is Scott. Wait, is Scott the next one? Who do we have next?
We got Scott and we got what's his name? Morgan. We have Scott left and Morgan.
Okay, Morgan can go back. He should have we should be able to do an order, putting his case in abeyance and then giving him the opportunity to go to the Clayton Center. And then we'll take Scott at this time. That should be the last person.
Your Honor, he wants to know if he can speak to you.
Who?
Mr. Morgan.
Oh yeah, bring him out.
Hey, how you doing?
Hi, Mr. Morgan.
Been locked up too long. Been locked up about a month.
I know, Mr. Morgan, we've been trying to get you housing.
How long it might take though?
Ms. Hahn,
They should be able to take him once we get the application over to him or over to them.
okay, so what is the process?
Kamani, I haven't done.
Does Mr. Morgan, hold on, Mr. Morgan, does Mr. Morgan have any family members or anybody who's willing to assist him?
I got a family member.
You do?
Got the number at home. Got the number at home. Flip phone, work phone right now too.
Okay, Ms. Hahn, do you have information for anyone dealing with Mr. Morgan?
I don't, Your Honor.
Okay, so when do you think you're gonna be able to see him and get that application completed?
Well, I met with him yesterday, and I tried to get some of the information from him, from Mr. Morgan, but he wasn't able to give me a lot of the information. So I had to come back to the office today to kind of dig through and try to fill out as much of the application that I can with the information that I have.
Because my understanding is Mr. Morgan has been with us before and he may have other files that are more complete.
Okay.
I'm not assured of that, but I mean, that is a possibility.
Your Honor?
Yes.
He has a number for his caregiver if you want it.
Yes.
It's 770 378 9773. And then he also says that he has his sister's number.
Okay.
Would you like that?
Yes, please.
It's 770 885 3427.
Okay. All right. So Mr. Morgan, Ms. Hahn is going to call those people and let's see if we can't get you out of here this week. Okay.
I mean, I've been before the court by 10 times.
I know.
Been going to court 10 times.
I know, Mr. Morgan. We're going to get you out of there.
All right.
All right, Ms. Hahn, Ms. Janvier, y'all talk and see what we can do. My preference is that I will go ahead and put the case in abeyance until such time as he's in a position to be treated. But we need to coordinate with a caregiver because Mr. I think that in addition to what may be mental health issues, there may be some cognitive issues, which he's going to need somebody to kind of help him because I don't want him just out on the street.
Understood.
More for his safety at this point than anything else.
I just wanted to update you on Morgan. So I'd spoken to the sister. We have the sister's number, and she's not willing to take him back. And then we spoke to his caregiver, and we were trying to find housing for him, but based on his charges, we were not successful, and therefore we contacted Clayton Center, and we probably should get an appointment with Clayton Center in a week or two.
Okay, so here's the thing. Mr. Morgan has already been in jail for probably longer than he would have spent in jail on this charge.
Right.
So I'm gonna need y'all to talk to the solicitor's office and come up with something. I know Mr. Brooks is adamant about how we treat people with mental health issues and making sure that we do the best we can to not house them in the jail. So y'all need to speak and figure out if there's some alternative that we can come to, because I'm not willing to keep Mr. Morgan in the jail just because we can't find a place for him. I'm reluctant to put him out on the street, more so because I'm worried about his safety at this point. as well as the safety of anyone he comes into contact with, but we need something. And so y'all come up with something and present it to me. And if it's in conjunction with the Clayton Center or any other mental health facility or treatment facility, I'm fine with that. Okay. All right. So Mr. Scott, raise your right hand for me. You solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true.
Yes, I do.
All right, you're before the court on 2022 CR 06785 for criminal trespass. You're before the court on case 2022 CR 06786 for trespass and criminal trespass damage and criminal trespass unlawful presence. So, sir, you're represented by attorney Muhammad Kamani. Mr. Kamani, what does your client plead to the offenses before this court?
Your Honor, on the first case ending in 06785, he's going to plead nolo. And on the second case ending in 06786, he's going to plead nolo to count one and no pros. Count two will be no pros.
All right. So by entering pleas of nolo to counts one on both cases, you give up the right to have a trial by jury or judge. You give up the right to have the state prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You give up the right to have the presumption of innocence in your favor. You give up the right to confront witnesses, subpoena witnesses, present testimony and evidence on your behalf, to not incriminate yourself or present any testimony or evidence against yourself. And if you're not a United States citizen, a plea of guilty or no contest could negatively impact your immigration status. Do you understand all of these things?
Yes, I do.
All right, factual basis of recommendation, please.
Yes, Your Honor. For the case ending in 06785, on November 18th, 2022, an officer responded to 563 Wexwood Drive in Riverdale, Georgia, where the incident occurred in Clayton County. It was in reference to a domestic disturbance. Upon the officer's arrival, he made contact with the victim, which is Ms. Sylvia Scott. She is the grandmother of Mr. Scott. And she advised that he had come into the home accusing her of stealing his drugs. And then he damaged and broke a few items, the refrigerator, side glass door, kitchen window, and some other items. He additionally destroyed her kitchen. And the officer did observe the damaged items that the victim advised of. At that time, the officer took Mr. Scott into custody. For the criminal trespass, the state is recommending 12 months to serve 10 days. Credit for the time he has served, as he has been in custody since November the 18th. The balance will be probated, Your Honor. The state is requesting a mental health evaluation and whatever follow-up treatment, a drug and alcohol evaluation, as well as no drugs or alcohol with random screening and testing, Your Honor. The victim has advised that she does not want restitution, and she knows that he cannot pay for it.
Okay. All right, I'm sorry. Is this is on the second case?
This was on 06785, yes, Your Honor. And then no contact with the victim as well.
I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's on 06785. So 06786, go ahead. I'm sorry,
Yes.
06786, yeah.
Yes, Your Honor. On November 18th, the same day, later in the day, Your Honor, an officer was dispatched to 8241 Brittany Lane, where the incident occurred in Clayton County in reference to, excuse me, a suspicious person or prowler. The victim advised that she could see who was later identified as Mr. Scott sitting in her backyard. She was observing this through her surveillance footage. He was sitting in a patio chair in her backyard in front of a fire. The officer arrived and made contact with Mr. Scott, gave verbal commands for him to leave. He refused to do so. And Mr. Scott had taken, as he had taken the patio chair seat cushions and placed them in the trash can and started the fire. At that time, Mr. Scott was taken into custody.
Who's the on that case?
State is recommending 12 months to serve, 2 days credit for the time served. And the balance would be probated to run concurrent with the other
Is
case.
it the same victim?
The victim's name, Deandra Smith.
Okay. All right. So on the recommendations, it's always helpful for doing the sentence if we get the municipality, because the address, while we know is Clayton County, there are addresses that might be similar or the same in different municipalities within the county. So
that's Riverdale.
Okay. Mr. Kamani, anything on behalf of Mr. Scott?
Your Honor, he does not have a job currently, so I'm requesting if his supervision fees be waived.
All right. So Mr. Scott, I don't have a problem with that. We'll waive supervision fees. How old are you, Mr. Scott?
Just turned 32 in December.
Okay. So Mr. Scott, we got some issues going on that I need you to get some help with, okay? So on the first case ending in 06785, I'm going to accept your plea of nolo. I'll sentence you to 12 months to serve 10 days, credit for time served. Balance will be probated for you to get a mental health evaluation and any treatment they might order, a substance abuse evaluation and any treatment that they might order. You're to have no alcohol and no illegal drugs during the course of the 12 months, and you're not to have contact with Sylvia Scott, and you're not to go back to Sylvia Scott's home, the incident location. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And the second case, ending in 06786. On count 1, I'll accept your plea of nolo and sentence you to 12 months to serve 2 days, credit for time served. Balance will be probated as long as you as long as you do not have any contact with Deandra Smith and you do not go back to the location, the Brittany Lane location in Riverdale. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
That will run concurrent with the case ending in 06785. The court will waive supervision fees. And Mr. Scott, the quickest way to get rearrested is to fail to report to probation. If you're having difficulty completing any of the requirements, then you can tell your probation officer. But if you just don't show up, then you'll be rearrested. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I'm going to put you in a breakout room with Mr. Carmichael. And once you are finished speaking with Mr. Carmichael, you can go back with the sheriff's office, okay? You should be released today if there are no other holds on you. All right. So Mr. Carmichael is in breakout room number 6. The jail will be in breakout room number 6. And as soon as they return to the main room, then we can adjourn court.
Judge.
Yes, ma'am.
Matt Carter, have you done that one yet, that petition?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay, so just send that one over. I think Ms. Menard is waiting on that one.
I think I sent it, maybe it just didn't attach, but I'll try it again.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. Let me know if you got it, Ms. Val. Ms. Wright, as soon as we're off the hearing, I'll go ahead and sign everything and send it back over.
Are they good?
Yes, ma'am, there's no problem. It's just easier to sign once I'm finished with the calendar. I'll send them over.
Oh, here.
All right, everybody's back. And this will conclude today's calendar. We are adjourned.